Hey everybody, this is Marshall Burnham. I'm doing a quick little prep video for you so you can see what we're going to do and see how it's going to play out to get this piece going here for our not paint sticks. We did paint sticks last week, sorry. I'm a little bit confused right now because I set all my stuff up and my camera wouldn't work. And there is a new camera on its way, but for today we're back to the phone. So just hang in there with me, guys. I'm still working on this and I'm going to get it yet. But what we're doing is we're prepping for the piece that's going to be the butterflies and blossoms this week. That's a brushstroke class. And so what I want you to do, if you're going to try to paint along with me as we go, what we're going to try, I need you to have a couple things done. I know some of you have already gotten your kits. I know we've got one kit out there floating around somewhere that hasn't gotten to who it belongs to yet, but we're working on that as well. We had quite a few kits go out. I am very excited about this, and I want to thank everybody for supporting me. But even if you can't go along or do along with me on the pieces, the video stays up, guys. So when you get your kit, you can always catch up with us. I don't think we're going to try to get this all done in one night because I'll tell you, there's a lot of steps to this piece. So what I'm going to do tonight, what I want you to see what we're doing tonight is I have my paint right here in the paint palette. I poured it out of my little jar, and now this is the paint that is going to be the background color for this piece. It's called soft pink. So what I want you to do is I want you to get 2 coats sponged onto this piece. And that's why in your in your box, you have a little sponge on a stick. The reason I sent you that is I didn't know what everybody has for sponges at home. And you don't want to use our little round yellow sponge like we use for just wiping things off. I wanted you to have a nice sponge like this that has nice texture to it. Okay? So what I want you to do is you need to get 2 coats of the soft pink sponged onto your background. So what I have done, I've done it on this side because I'm going to flip this over here in a minute and show you what I want you to do. I'm going to flip this over. This has nothing. This is just bare bisque that has been wiped off. And I always wipe my pieces off before I do any base coating or anything, just so we have all the dust off. You don't know where this piece has been. You don't know what you got on it when you fired it. So let's just always get in that habit of wiping down that bisque. Then I'm going to have the soft pink in here. I'm going to have a little bit of water, drop a few drops of water in, and then take a palette knife and mix it up. And mix it up so it's a little bit on the thin side, okay? And then what I want you to do is I want you to get your sponge loaded up, just like this, and then I want you to just pounce this on. Kind of like how I showed you to put on the texture glaze to get ready for when we did the applique piece, all right? So see, I'm just going to get this sponged on real quick, and then I'm going to let it set. And you only need to do 2 coats. We're going to be putting quite a bit of color on top of this vase, so I don't want you to get crazy and get them stacked up too much. You get too much glaze on anything, guys. Any glaze, any product you use, any company you use, you go to stacking on too much glaze on there, especially when you're putting on your design, and you're going to end up with a mess because you're going to have too much color on there and then it's going to peel back. Now that's not shivering, that's just flat out too much product peel back, okay, and it'll lift off. So what I want you to do is this is just 1 coat. See how I'm nice and airy and got kind of a fun texture to it? That's just 1 coat, okay? So let that dry a little bit and then come back and put your second coat on. Now that I have that wet, you can't see, I can't turn it over right away. But what I've also done is I've already made my patterns. The pattern is made. It's on the tissue paper that has no waxy side of either side. I put it on. I made it with a pencil. I lay my tissue over the top of my pattern, draw right on, you can see right through that, draw the pattern onto here, and then when I'm going to go ahead and kind of rush through this a little bit just because it's just a prep, okay? You're going to turn your vase. See, this side is nice and dry and has been taken care of good. You know, I've let it dry real good. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay my pattern on here, position it wherever I want it to be, and then I'm going to take one of those fun little markers, those Stadler markers that I like to use, watercolor marker. Actually, and I'm going to continue to call it a watercolor marker because it will wash off and it will also fire off. But what these markers originally were made for is what I found out from one of my reps that I deal with that does art supplies. They're actually used in drafting. So if you've gone out there and looked for these and you can't find them, look in the drafting department, okay? It's really, that's really the department they're in. They're not in the marker department, like where you'd find Sharpies and all that good stuff, okay? So I want you to just lay your pattern wherever, position it. And I don't always like to put mine exactly in the middle, but this little butterfly, I kind of want him in the middle and the flowers are just going to fall around him, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw right over the top of that pattern, over that dried glaze that's been prepared, okay? Here we go. So see, there he is. So just lay it back down and finish your pattern. So if you would have your couple of coats of soft pink on and your pattern on, then you can begin to paint with me. I don't know how I'm going to be able to do this, guys, because where I can't tell what you're doing and you're trying to keep up with me, which is going to be a little on the tricky side because I tend to paint and talk. I always do. I'm just going to be able to teach along what I'm going to do, and then that's why it's in a video form. You guys, you can go back in and rerun it as many times as you need so that you can see how I did each little step, okay? So if you want to get this far, that's fine. If you don't, if you just want to sit back and watch what I do and then play it back as you paint, that's fine too. But I do know I've had a request for a few of them that want to paint along with me as we're going. And there's going to be drying time, so we're going to have to chit-chat, I guess, about stuff. So I'm just going to try to remember to tell you the things I think you need to know as we go. Now, are you seeing what I'm doing here? On the flowers, I'm not putting the two little dots and his funny little nose in. And that little nose is kind of too big because this is a little pansy and you don't need to put in your inside lines. I have you put on your inside lines in your butterfly, on this butterfly, because we're going to paint them in the sections. On the other little guy where there's commas on top, don't worry about your commas on top. Just be sure and get your sections, your scallops and stuff, because after we base coat and do all of this part of this guy, I don't know if you can tell or not, but when we get all this guy done, base coated and shaded, then we'll come in and put the little commas on top. So, but the other flowers, if you want to, when you're putting on your leaves, if you get confused, like I'm going to try to lay that back down there, on there where I was. Okay, right here. Okay, when you're doing these little guys, when you're doing these little, they're going to be like little white forget-me-not or just little filler flowers. When you do them, we don't have a petal on any of this, or we don't have anything that is so confusing you won't know the difference between the leaves and the petals. If you have a pattern, sometimes when you put that on and you can't tell the difference, you have to put that line in so you know what you're painting when you get ready to put your paint on. Okay? So that's all I needed to tell you tonight. I just wanted to get you in here and get you ready for the class. If, like I said, if you want to try to do it as we go along, that's great. I would love to have you paint with me, but I don't know that I'm going to get the whole design done because it does take a little while to get this part done because you've got a base coat and you've got a shade, then you got to let it dry. So we'll probably try to get as far as we can tomorrow night to the point where the next week we could come back in and do our fine detail or even deepen the shading, because there's a couple of things I have you do to make your shading get a little deeper, and it kind of makes the shading, it just brings the shading to life, and you can see it a lot better. Okay, so that's all I needed to tell you for today. I hope that you're all enjoying doing the videos, and I'm hoping to have you check back with me on, we're going to do it Wednesday night at 5 o'clock Mountain. So that's 7 o'clock Eastern, 6 o'clock Central, 5 o'clock Mountain, 4 o'clock Pacific. So that's when we're going to start painting. Right there's my pattern, guys. I'm in. I've sat here and talked to you and got one side done. So don't make it hard. Just jump in there and follow along, will ya? I'd love to hear that you're I love it when I'm getting response, guys. I'm getting so much. It's so much fun to see your remarks. I know I appreciate your comments on my lighting and my what I don't have done right. I like those too, as long as you don't get too crazy with me, because remember, you're not talking to a techie. I don't get it sometimes. But I love having the remarks. I love having the comments. I love knowing that people are out there paying attention and watching what I'm doing, because, like I said, I can't tell you enough how much I love to teach. So I hope that this helps you out, and I hope that I can hear from you on Wednesday, and I hope you'll join me. Okay? Thanks. Have a good evening.